Why British soldiers feared the Tiger tank during World War II. In World War II, the very name Tiger tank struck fear into the hearts of British soldiers, and for good reason. Developed by the Germans, these mechanical beasts were the epitome of armored warfare. They boasted incredibly thick armor, making them nearly impervious to most Allied anti-tank weapons. Plus, their powerful 88mm guns had a terrifyingly accurate range, easily outclassing British tanks like the Sherman. When a Tiger showed up on the battlefield, it was a game changer. Its mere presence could force British troops to alter their tactics completely, often opting for retreat or calling in air support. Moreover, these tanks weren't just tough, they were also psychological weapons. Their fearsome reputation often led to exaggerated reports of Tiger tanks, sometimes causing panic even when none were actually present. Why British soldiers used crickets in D-Day landings during World War II. In one of the most pivotal moments of World War II, the D-Day landings, British soldiers carried a curious item, a small metal cricket, also known as a clicker. You might wonder, why on earth would soldiers carry a noise-making toy into battle? Well, it wasn't for fun. It was a simple yet ingenious communication tool. As British paratroopers landed in Normandy, they faced the daunting task of regrouping in the dark, unfamiliar terrain. Radios were too risky. Their signals could be intercepted. Enter the cricket. A soldier would click it once, and if a friendly was nearby, they'd hear 2 clicks in response. It was a code, a covert hello that said, "I'm a friend, not a foe." This unassuming cricket became a lifesaver. Why British soldiers were ordered to shoot their horses during World War II. In World War II, British soldiers faced a heartbreaking directive. They were sometimes ordered to shoot their own horses. You might be wondering, why would they do such a thing? Well, in certain situations like retreats, or when resources were scarce, the military deemed it was better to euthanize the animals rather than let them fall into enemy hands. The idea was that the enemy could use these horses either for labor or, in worst-case scenarios, for meat. In addition, horses injured beyond recovery on the battlefield were put down as a humane measure. Soldiers, who often formed deep bonds with their horses, found this order emotionally devastating. It was seen as a tragic but necessary aspect of the grim realities of war. Why British soldiers carried cigarettes in their rations during World War II. You might wonder why something considered harmful today was a staple in a British soldier's ration pack during World War II. Well, times were different, and cigarettes served multiple purposes. First off, they were a quick way to unwind. The battlefield was a stressful place, and a quick smoke provided a momentary escape from the chaos. Secondly, they were a social tool. Offering a cigarette was an easy way to start a conversation or bond with comrades, creating a sense of unity and camaraderie among troops. But that's not all. Cigarettes were also used for trade. Need an extra pair of socks or some chocolate? A pack of smokes could get you that. Though health-conscious folks today would cringe at the thought, back then, cigarettes were an integral part of a soldier's life, providing comfort, social connection, and even acting as a makeshift currency. Why British soldiers feared friendly fire. During World War II, friendly fire is a term that sounds almost ironic. There's nothing friendly about being shot at by your own side. During World War II, British soldiers had more than just the enemy to worry about. They also feared friendly fire. This is when shots from your own team accidentally hit you, and it's a devastating event that no soldier ever wants to experience. It shakes trust and damages morale. Imagine being in a high-stakes battle, dodging bullets, and suddenly getting hit by a shot fired from your own side. It's a psychological blow that can be hard to recover from. This was a real concern for British troops, especially during large-scale operations like D-Day, where the fog of war made it tough to identify friend from foe. Commanders tried to reduce these incidents by improving communication and training, but the fear always lingered. Why British soldiers were afraid of the desert fox during World War II. In World War II, the name, the Desert Fox, struck fear into the hearts of British soldiers. This nickname belonged to German General Erwin Rommel, a brilliant tactician renowned for his exploits in North Africa. Rommel's mastery of desert warfare caught the British off guard. His forces moved with speed and precision, often appearing where they were least expected. His tactics were innovative. He used a mix of conventional and guerrilla warfare that kept the British forces on their toes. He would often hit and run, causing maximum damage with minimal risk. This put British troops in a state of constant alert, disrupting their morale and strategy. Even worse, Rommel was a chameleon. His troops could disguise their tanks as trucks and vice versa, making it hard for British reconnaissance to get accurate information. The mere possibility that Rommel was planning an attack was enough to instill anxiety. Why British soldiers were trained in hand-to-hand combat during World War II? You might think World War II was all about guns, tanks, and planes, but let's not forget the nitty-gritty, hand-to-hand combat. Now, why would British soldiers need to get up close and personal when they had firearms? Well, wars are unpredictable. Sometimes you run out of ammo, or maybe your gun jams. In those situations, hand-to-hand skills can be a lifesaver, literally. The British Army took this so seriously that they developed their own combat system called Defendu, a mix of judo, wrestling, and good old-fashioned street fighting techniques. Created by William E. Fairbairn, a British Royal Marine, Defendu was designed to be quick and effective. It trained soldiers to disable or disarm an opponent in seconds. Why British soldiers used pigeons for communication? During World War II, communication was crucial but also extremely challenging. Imagine being on the battlefield with no smartphones or even reliable radio systems. British soldiers had a unique solution: carrier pigeons. Yes, you heard it right, feathered friends in the skies. These birds were no regular park pigeons. They were highly trained to carry important messages across enemy lines and through difficult terrains. They would carry small canisters attached to their legs, inside which were tightly rolled pieces of paper with coded information. Pigeons played a vital role in relaying time-sensitive messages that could change the course of a battle. They had an incredible sense of direction and could fly up to 60 miles per hour. The British military even had a specialized pigeon training program. Some pigeons became war heroes. One famous bird named G.I. Joe saved nearly 1,000 lives by delivering a crucial message just in time. So the next time you see a pigeon, remember, these birds were once the unsung heroes of wartime communication. Why British soldiers relied on the Enfield 4 rifle during World War II? In World War II, the Enfield 4 rifle was the bread and butter of the British infantry. This bolt-action rifle was designed for efficiency and reliability, something every soldier could count on in the heat of battle. It had a high rate of fire compared to other bolt-action rifles, allowing British troops to keep up sustained volleys. The gun was incredibly sturdy, designed to withstand the rigors of war, be it the freezing Russian fronts or the scorching North African deserts. But what really set the Enfield apart was its accuracy. A skilled marksman could hit targets at distances that would make most other rifles blush. This was critical during skirmishes where the first shot often determined the outcome. The Enfield 4 also had a bayonet lug, giving soldiers a secondary weapon for close combat. Why British soldiers feared the buzz bombs during World War II? During World War II, British soldiers had a particular dread for the infamous German V-1 flying bombs, colloquially known as buzz bombs. These were essentially early cruise missiles that made a distinct buzzing noise, hence the nickname. What made them terrifying wasn't just their destructive power, but the psychological impact of hearing that buzzing grow louder and then suddenly go silent. When the noise stopped, it meant the bomb was about to fall, but you had no way of knowing where. The uncertainty and suspense were nerve-wracking for both civilians and soldiers alike. Imagine being on the front lines or even back at base and hearing that sound. It was a psychological tactic as much as it was a physical one. The buzz bombs were also relatively fast and could evade some anti-aircraft measures, adding another layer of fear. Why British soldiers loved their cup of Bovril? In the harsh conditions of World War II, simple comforts went a long way, and for British soldiers, a cup of Bovril was one of those comforts. But what exactly is Bovril? It's a thick, salty beef extract, often diluted in hot water to create a warm, savory beverage. Picture a beef broth that you can easily carry in a small jar or packet. Now you might be asking, why would anyone be excited about drinking meat-flavored water? Well, it's all about the situation. The British climate, not to mention the wet and cold conditions on many European battlefields, demanded something warm to fend off the chill. Bovril was not just a hot drink. It was a slice of home, a morale booster in a cup. It provided not just warmth, but also essential nutrients, including sodium and protein, which were vital for soldiers who expended enormous energy during long marches and intense battles. Why British soldiers had ration books during World War II? During World War II, resources were scarce. Everything from food to fuel was limited. That's where ration books came into play, even for British soldiers. These weren't just ordinary notebooks, they were essentially tickets to get essential items. Soldiers were given a certain number of points in these books, and they could exchange them for items like food, soap, and even clothing. But why rationing for soldiers, you ask? Well, the British Army had to manage resources carefully. They needed to make sure that everyone got an equal share, especially when it came to food. This was critical for keeping soldiers healthy and ready for combat. Ration books also played a role in planning military strategies. Knowing the available resources helped in determining the length and scale of operations. Why British soldiers carried a piece of chalk during World War II? At first glance, a piece of chalk might seem like an odd item for a soldier to carry into battle. But for British troops in World War II, chalk had a variety of surprising and practical uses. For starters, soldiers could use chalk to mark paths or leave quick messages for those coming behind them. A kind of primitive GPS, if you will. It also played a role in identifying equipment or supply caches. One of the more interesting uses was in makeshift warfare. Chalk could be used to tamper with enemy optics, like scopes or binoculars, impairing the enemy's vision and accuracy. Perhaps most importantly, it was used to mark cleared rooms or areas, informing fellow soldiers that a given space was safe or not. Why British soldiers called Spitfires Sweethearts of the Skies during World War II? The Spitfire is an iconic symbol of World War II, renowned for its speed, agility, and lethal firepower. But did you know that British soldiers affectionately called these fighter planes Sweethearts of the Skies? There's a good reason for this endearing nickname. Spitfires weren't just machines of war. They were seen as guardian angels, providing much-needed air cover for the troops on the ground. Their presence in the sky often tipped the balance in favor of the British, giving soldiers the psychological boost they needed to push forward. Whether swooping in to intercept enemy bombers or engaging in dogfights to control airspace, the Spitfire commanded respect and admiration from all who saw it in action. Why British soldiers trained with obstacle courses? During World War II, British soldiers underwent rigorous training that included obstacle courses. But why? Well, these obstacle courses were far from a playground. They served as a crucial preparation for the realities of war. They mimicked real-life challenges that soldiers would face in battle, like crawling under barbed wire, scaling walls, and crossing muddy ditches. These exercises were designed to improve physical strength, yes, but they also sharpened mental agility. Soldiers learned to think quickly, adapt to unexpected obstacles, and work as a team, skills vital on the battlefield. The courses also offered a way to evaluate individual and unit readiness for combat. If a soldier struggled here, better to find out during training than in the heat of actual warfare. Why British soldiers were known as Tommies during World War II? Ever wonder why British soldiers were often called Tommies during World War II? Well, the term actually predates the Second World War. It's an informal nickname that goes back as far as the 19th century. Originating from Tommy Atkins, a generic name used in British Army manuals, the term caught on as a way to refer to the average British soldier. You could think of it like John Doe for military men. During World War II, this nickname took on a life of its own. It was used both affectionately and symbolically to represent the bravery and resilience of British troops. Allies and enemies alike knew them as Tommies, a term that encapsulated not just their nationality, but also their fighting spirit. Why British soldiers drank tea in the trenches during World War II? In World War II, tea was more than just a beverage for British soldiers. It was a piece of home and a dash of normality in the chaos of war. Even in the grueling conditions of the trenches, the British Army made sure their troops had their tea. Why? Well, tea has always been deeply embedded in British culture, but in the trenches, it took on a greater role. It became a ritual that offered soldiers a moment of respite and a sense of familiarity. This warm brew provided a morale boost that was much needed in the face of relentless combat and uncertainty. Army rations included tea leaves, and makeshift stoves or even small fires were used to heat water in the battlefield. When the whistle blew for an attack, you could be sure that many soldiers went over the top with the taste of tea still lingering in their mouths. Why British soldiers created victory gardens during World War II? Victory gardens were more than just a source of food during World War II. They were a symbol of resilience and unity for British soldiers. Imagine being far from home, fighting in a foreign land, and missing the comforts of your own garden or local park. Victory gardens provided a slice of normality in an otherwise chaotic world. Planted in military camps and even in some occupied territories, these gardens weren't just for show. They helped supplement rations by growing vegetables and herbs, making the diet of a British soldier a bit more bearable and nutritious. Why British soldiers wore identity discs during World War II? In World War II, British soldiers wore identity discs, commonly known as dog tags. These were crucial, especially in the chaos of battle. Made of durable materials, each tag displayed key information like the soldier's name, rank, and serial number. So why were these identity discs so important? For starters, they helped medics quickly identify wounded or unconscious men, allowing for more personalized medical treatment. If a soldier was killed in action, these tags played a heartbreaking yet essential role in identifying the body. This ensured that families back home could be notified and that the fallen could be honored properly. Moreover, it helped military authorities keep accurate records, making it easier to tally losses or make pension arrangements for affected families.